Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan, and if you're new here, I'm a first-year PhD student at the University of Waterloo. As you can tell, my background looks really nice. I'm actually in my backyard here in Oakville, and it actually just stopped raining and the sun came out, and I thought, hey, why not film another YouTube video? So in today's YouTube video, I'm going to be talking about why it's really important to participate in class as a student. So before I jump into the video, if you guys could subscribe to the channel and hit that thumbs up, that would really help out a small YouTuber like myself. So as an undergrad and master's student, I honestly never really participated much in class. I am kind of shy, I have social anxiety, and it's obviously a little scary to speak in front of other people and to put yourself out there in a vulnerable position. But as a PhD student, the game has completely changed because participation actually counts for a huge component of your final mark. In my accounting seminars that I took this year, participation was around 30 to I think 50% of my final grade. Because participation is such a huge component, you definitely have to come to class prepared, and you definitely have to participate consistently throughout the lecture. There's only 3 to 5 other students in the class, so you can't really hide behind other people like you could do in undergrad classes with hundreds of other students in the lecture hall. The professor knows if you're not prepared, and if you're not prepared, the professor will sometimes even call you out and assign questions to you right on the spot. So with that being said, I kind of want to talk about my experience with the whole participation thing just because it was a huge, transformation for me as part of being a PhD student. I want to share some of the tips that I think helped me a lot to be more prepared for my classes, and I kind of want to talk about the benefits of participating in class that you might not be aware of. So definitely there are a lot of benefits when it comes to participating in class, and I think one of the biggest benefits is that it's the best way and honestly the easiest way to get recognized by your professor and for you to build that relationship with your professor. So I know a lot of students talk about how they just feel like another number at a university, and I can't blame you, especially in first year when you're taking a class with hundreds of other students in a lecture hall. It's very easy to feel like you're just another number within that huge lecture hall, and there's nothing really distinguishing you from other people. And that's why I think it's important to kind of look at it from a professor's point of view. You know, when they're standing in the front of the class and they see hundreds of people, if you're not going to participate and you don't show up to office hours, it's very hard for the professor to know your face and to know your name, right? Like, you need to put in the effort to make yourself memorable and to make yourself recognizable, and raising your hand in class is honestly the easiest way to grab their attention. Now, there are certain situations where you might want the professor's attention, and I'm gonna give you guys a couple situations where you might want that attention. So the first one is if you are considering any type of grad school, whether that's a master's degree, going to law school, or applying for medical school. The application will typically ask you for a recommendation letter, and most times they're going to ask for an academic recommendation letter. So that means going to your professor and asking them to write a little blurb about how you are as a student and your abilities to essentially do grad school, medical school, or law school. And if you don't have that relationship with the professor, you're going to end up with a pretty generic recommendation letter, and admission committees can definitely tell if the recommendation letter is generic. If you did participate in class and you show interest in the material and you kind of have that one-on-one time with the professor, then it's a lot easier for the professor to write you a customized recommendation letter, and I think that'll definitely go a long way when it comes to your application. So that's definitely a key thing to think about if you're still an undergrad and you're thinking about doing any sort of grad school or any sort of grad school. Now, the second situation where you might want to grab a professor's attention is if you're looking for a job. You know, some of us out there do want to be a research assistant for a summer term, and professors are sometimes looking for 1 or 2 students to help them out on their research projects. There are a lot of students in the program, but there's probably only 1 or 2 positions available. And what's the best way for you to get the professor's attention and to get that job? And I honestly think that participating in class is probably the easiest and most effective way, because professors are looking for students who are interested in the material, who want to engage with the material on a much deeper level. And by participating in class, you're publicly showing that, hey, I did the readings, I know the stuff, I like the stuff, and I'm actually interested in the stuff. If you participate in class and then an opening comes up, you will have a huge advantage compared to other people who didn't participate at all and kind of submit an anonymous application. So that's another thing that you want to think about, because I know in the summer terms, if maybe you don't have an internship, you are not taking summer classes, being an RA is a great way to not only get exposure to the academic side of school, but also to make some money on the side. Now, the last benefit of participating in class that I want to talk about is that it just makes the lecture a lot more fun. And personally, I find that it's a lot easier to retain the information. When I'm reading a textbook or a paper and it's just me reading for hours, it's very boring, right? You're not really engaging with the material. And honestly, it's kind of hard sometimes to make sure that information sticks in my head. What I realize is that when I talk about the paper in a discussion with other students or with a professor, I realize that that information retains in my head a lot longer because I'm not only recalling the information, but I'm also recalling the experience, the discussion that I have. And I find it a lot easier to remember what I talked about in class than what I read on my own. And another thing I notice is that if I make a mistake when I'm participating in class and I get corrected by the professor, then that really sears into my brain because I definitely make a mental note like, okay, I made a mistake, this is the correct answer, and I definitely don't want to make that mistake again. I honestly think that if you're going to spend 3 hours in class, you might as well make the most of it and try to retain and learn as much as you can, and participating in class is honestly the easiest way to be a better student. Okay, so we kind of talked about the benefits of participating in class, and I think most of them are pretty common knowledge, maybe not so much about the recommendation letter and the RA job, but definitely the fact that it helps you learn a lot better as a student. I think most of us already know that. Now let's talk about what you can do before your class in order to prepare yourself to participate in class, because at the end of the day, class participation is really a product of your preparation. As long as you prepare, you can speak in class confidently. Now, the minimum requirement is to definitely do your readings. I don't think I need to repeat that twice. If you do your readings, then you know what you're talking about. But there's certain things you can do as you read your material in order to better prepare. The first thing that I would say is try to see if the professor asks similar questions for each class. Now, as an accounting PhD student, we get assigned papers to read every single week. And what I noticed is that professors would ask very similar questions for every class. And these questions are typically, what's the research question? What's the hypothesis? What are the theoretical constructs? How did the researcher operationalize those theoretical constructs? And what are the main findings? So after a couple weeks of taking class, I kind of noticed that, okay, these are the kind of things that I need to know for each week in order for me to participate well in class. So what I ended up doing was I created a template. Before I started reading the material, I would have all the discussion questions listed out on that template. And so as I'm reading the paper, I can just take notes, but organize them accordingly to the discussion questions. And what's great about that is that now I have the set of notes that not only talks about the paper, but it also prepares me for the discussion in the lecture. Now, the second thing I would recommend you do is that 15 minutes before the start of your class, go back to your template and just read through your notes once. We're all really busy people. We're all taking multiple courses each term. It's kind of tough to, read something at the beginning of the week and then expect ourselves to remember everything by the end of the week. So what I used to do was 15 minutes before class, I would just take out my template, read it once, and then bam, everything that I've taken notes on before, all that information would be fresh in my mind. And so when class starts, I'm not like frantically searching through my notes or control Fing certain words to recall what I need to say in class. Everything's fresh in my mind, and plus, since I have everything organized based on discussion questions, it's very easy for me to just go into Microsoft Word, look up the question quickly, and then just speak confidently in class. With that being said, that pretty much wraps up the video. Hopefully these tips are helpful to you guys and you guys are now aware of the benefits of participating in class. I definitely wish I had this kind of video when I was an undergrad student, because let me tell you, when I was applying to my master's degree, it was very difficult for me to find a professor that would write me a recommendation letter, just because I did not participate in class. I didn't really have a relationship with any professors. So I was frantically sending out cold emails to professors that I had classes with and them not even knowing who I was. So that's definitely something that you should be mindful of. If you guys enjoy the content, then consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that thumbs up button. It definitely helps out a small YouTuber like myself. And let me know if you guys enjoy this style of video, me just kind of casually sitting and talking about my experience and sharing some advice to you guys. I think these videos are very helpful and informative, and if I can help just one person with my videos, then I would be really happy. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. My producer Lola was supervising the shoot. How did I do, Lola? Quality's good?